The Women's Anti-Fascist Front was a World War II-era feminist movement and female political organization across Yugoslavia and a predecessor to several present-day feminist organizations in the former Yugoslavia. It was formed by volunteers on 6 December 1942 in Bosanski Petrovac at the First National Conference of Women, and was one of only 4 to also become an organized resistance movement. The inaugural address was given by the commander of the National Liberation Army, Josip Broz Tito. Name. In its early days, the organization was called the Wives of the Anti-Fascist Committee. In Croatia, the organization was named the Antifascist Front Croatian of Women. In Slovenia there are a number of titles: Anti-Fascist Women Association, Anti-Fascist Front Wives, Anti-Fascist Front of Women, and was founded under the name of Slovenian Anti-Fascist Women Association. There was also Slovenian's Anti-Italian Women's Union. In Macedonia, Antifascist.It Front of Women to Many. In Serbia there was Anti-Fascist Front of Women in Serbia, with what is in Vojvodina their Anti-Fascist Front of Women of Vojvodina. Establishment and reasons for establishing. Before World War II, many women organizations were advocates for peace, fighting against the different totalitarianisms that were growing across Europe. During the war, however, many women organized themselves within the anti-fascist movement, and strengthened its position. This is confirmed by the first document of the Supreme Headquarters and the National Liberation Army Volunteer Yugoslavia, which at the time was the supreme authority in the liberated territories. In various documents it confirmed women active and passive voting rights which they already possessed prior to 1941, as outlined in the Constitution, but were not allowed to exercise. Years Rabia during elections for national liberation committees as the new authorities. Women began to massively involve the NOPAS female soldiers, Bonakerk politicians and MPs. Different female structures, which were Ustanovljivani of 1941 under various names, have been associated in the wider areas, and as of 6 December 1942, held the first national conference of Women. At the conference, attended by 166 delegates from all over Yugoslavia, except for Macedonia, because they did not occur because of both distance and security concerns. Then the conference founded Anti-Fascist Front of Women with the aim of mobilizing women for assisting new units, helping partisan government bodies, participation in armed and sabotage actions, and for the development of so-called brotherhood and unity among women. These groups were decentralized into what would later become the constituent republics of the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. Women's Anti-Fascist Front of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Women's Anti-Fascist Front of Croatia. Women's Anti-Fascist Front of Kosovo. Women's Anti-Fascist Front of Macedonia. Women's Anti-Fascist Front of Montenegro. Women's Anti-Fascist Front of Serbia. Women's Anti-Fascist Front of Slovenia. Women's Anti-Fascist Front of Vojvodina. World War II. AFZ played an influential role in the Second World War. After the invasion of Yugoslavia, the NLA attracted about 2 million women. In military units, there were 110,000 women. During the war, 2,000 women became officers. AFZ committees were also responsible for collecting clothes for the November, cared about children or wounded soldiers, worked as frontline nurses and perform agricultural tasks. Losses. Of the 305,000 fallen soldiers between 1941 to 1945, 25,000 were women, and of the 405,000 injured, 40,000 were women. After the war, the issue of legal equality did not arise, because the women through their participation in the national liberation movement had arguably already achieved certain rights, all that after Focha regulations on the principles of equality enshrined in the later constitutions New Yugoslavia and various laws, the result of the struggle of women themselves in the feminist and anti-fascist women's organizations before the war, as well as the struggle during the war. AFZ acted to eliminate the consequences of the war, the promotion of education, the construction of new residential buildings, cultural work and others. In particular, it was the education of the girls, and opposition to discrimination and segregation of women. Abolition. Anti-Fascist Front of Women was abolished at its 4th Congress in Belgrade, when the decision on the name was changed to the Women's Societies of Yugoslavia, and access to the Socialist Alliance of Working People of Yugoslavia. Front was upbraided superfluous political activities. Instead, AFZ in the Socialist Republic of Croatia acted Croatian Union of Women's Societies, later Conference for Social Position of Women and the Family within the Republican Conference SSRNH. There was a Committee for Social Position of Women and the Family which actually keeps in her work the Yugoslav Anti-Fascist Front of Women, Legacy, Lessons and Some Insights. Andrea Jovanovic explores the question of the legacy of the AFZ and attempts to explain how and why the AFZ legacy disappeared in the post-Yugoslav period.